You grew up in Togo, Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing, what that was like, and just I'm very interested.
First of all, wow, I don't even know where to begin, right? Because we moved around so much growing up. And by the way, I shout out to Canada because I hear the about. Shout out to Canada. I love Canada.
Appreciate it.
But to answer your question, so I was born in Togo. It's a small country in West Africa. It's on the Gold Coast, right in between Benin and literally it goes Togo, Benin, and on the other side there's Ghana. Nigeria is like a country over. Predominantly a French-speaking country. Obviously, I that's where I was born. I grew up around those ends, but due to my dad's job, we actually moved around a lot when I was growing up. So, like between the ages of 0 through 10, I had already lived in a bunch of different countries. Fortunately, so I grew up on the west side of Africa, and I also grew up on the east side of Africa as well. I spent a lot of years in Nairobi, Kenya.
Very cool. And what was Nairobi like? I've in Africa, I've been to Morocco, just I guess never
Beautiful.
sub-Saharan, but I've always been super curious. I would say, people have asked me before, what's the next place you want to go? I've always been super interested in like Kenya,
Yeah.
Tanzania. We were actually almost going to go on a trip, but um, it just didn't end up going through with the family. So I'm really hoping to get out there. So
You know what?
uh,
I think you missed out. There's Kenya is beautiful. Tanzania is beautiful. East Africa is just so beautiful and just so advanced. Um, Growing up, obviously in Nairobi, Kenya, I lived literally. If anybody's watching this that is familiar with Nairobi, I lived not far from Yaya Center, which is pretty much close near the downtown. And growing up there was like it's weird because Africa is so big that West Africa has a specific culture, but when you go to Eastern Africa, it's like which is like a 6 hour flight right away, right? So it's like you're flying on to the other coast essentially. Things are a lot different. Obviously, English is spoken there, but while I was growing up there, I was in a private French school. But growing up in Kenya, the culture amazing, the food amazing, the people amazing. If you ever happen to go or have it in your roadmap to go, I strongly recommend you go visit Mombasa. So I strongly recommend you go visit Mombasa. It's one of the nicest resorts and it's right in between Kenya and Tanzania. You get to obviously take those excursions and go to the safaris, but it's called Mombasa White Sand. A beautiful resort. Other resorts that I would also recommend is Naivasha, another great one if you do love animals. It's not so much luxurious; it's more like adventurous, you know. But if you're looking for something that's like luxury, white sand, Mombasa, strongly recommend. And also, if you do happen to go to Nairobi, check out a restaurant called Churrasco's. But growing up there, obviously, was amazing. I got to see a different side of Africa, and obviously, whenever you travel, you get to learn and draw perspective and run parallels and stuff like that, and it really cultivates the brain.